It costs $35,000 to maximize collections in the Big Mama server. By itself, that number doesn't mean much, so let me give you some context. At current Black Trader prices, buying every required item outright, costumes, monster drops, and equipment, comes out to about 8.6 billion gold. If you were to, let's say, value 1 million gold at 4 USD each, that's where this total comes from. Of course, the real cost depends on how you actually obtain your gold and gear. Before we go deeper, let's quickly go over what collections actually are. The collection system gives you bonus stats for completing collection quests. Each quest requires one or more items that once collected grants you the bonus stat. You access this feature by tapping on the menu and then the collections tab. It's split into 3 categories, each with its own progress bar. This video will be split into 2 main parts for both general and costume collections. At 100%, general collections fundamentally change how the game is played. It more than doubles your HP, reduces incoming damage significantly, and increases your overall damage, making you much more efficient in PvP and PvE. Training becomes faster and easier, saving you countless hours and reducing costs such as potions and buffs. It even changes how bosses are approached, reducing the reliance on warriors on a team. In my spreadsheets, I divide general collections into 3 categories: ETC collections, ETC boss collections, and equipment collections. As of now, there are 440 general collection quests, excluding events, providing 33 unique stats. Beginning with ETC collections, these contain items mostly obtained from monster drops. Some include gear that are clean or unenchanted, aka +0. In total, these are the stats given from these collections. They account for 138 quests, or about 31% of general collections. Individually, the stats given are small, but together they add up, and compared to other categories, they are relatively free-to-play friendly, except for boss ETCs. Equipment collections are where most of your power comes from. The majority of equipment in the game is collectible. Most are either craftable or drop from monsters and bosses in and out of dungeons. You'll need multiple copies of each item, often at different enchant levels. The higher the enchant, the harder and more expensive it becomes. Depending on the level of the equipment, different tiers of scrolls are needed to enchant the equipment. PvP stats are usually locked behind the more expensive gear, while PvE stats are easier to obtain. Most collections grant HP upon completion. For training, go for collections that give crit, move, PvE damage, damage down, and your main stats for your class. Breaking this down further, 1 PvE down is equal to 5 armor in terms of damage reduction. That alone makes training significantly more manageable. High PvE damage greatly speeds up training, crit is great for boosting damage for all classes, and movement makes training more fluid. PvP stats are mainly obtained through S and A scroll collections. This is why PvP is considered late game, it's expensive. There is a noticeable difference between accounts that have maximized PvP and those that have not. I won't go into depth about PvP as it deserves an entire video for itself, but I'll just say this. A ranger with max PvP down basically has 3 Spartan shields equipped. Regarding boss ETC collections, these quests should be the last ones you even think about going for. It's more of a flex than anything. To put this all into perspective, here's roughly what general collection progress looks like at different stages and how much it usually costs. Beginners nearing 20% in general can look something like this. You've trained to level 40, you've mostly focused on equipment needed to train, and you've started collecting ETC collections and have worked on some D and C scroll collections. You're about 20 million deep. Once you're nearing 40% general, you start gaining stats other than HP and mana. You're probably nearing level 48 and you've trained on almost all mobs in the game. The majority of ETC have been completed and you've done solid work on D, C, and B scrolls. You're about 125 million deep. Getting to 60% is really respectable. You're over level 50 and you have a few rares, maybe even a +8 S scroll weapon. You've completed almost all +7 and +8 D, C, and B scroll collections. You started tackling A scrolls, maybe even a few +8 A scrolls as you chase your main stat. Your move speed is 7 or higher and you've completed almost all ETC collections. you're about 580 million deep. At 70%, you're definitely somewhere on the leaderboard. If you aren't level 53, you're probably a mage. If you're free to play, this might have taken you a few years. Every A scroll you get is saved for the next 2-time enchanting event, and you've snagged a few +9 C and B scroll collections. Most, if not all, your +7 and lower A scrolls are done, and you've completed some S scroll collections. You've probably maxed move speed, and you're about 1 billion deep. At 80%, you've finished more +9 C and B scroll collections. All +7 A's and lower are done, and most +8 A's are done. HP is hard to get, and every collection costs over 8 digits, but your PvP collections is starting to get solid. And you're probably training a same account alt because of how easy and fast it is to train. You're starting to think about +9 A scrolls, but rent is due. You're 1.5 billion deep. At 90%, you're in the top 5 to 20 of your server. Your PvP is solid, and you've mostly done all except for S scrolls and a few +9 depending on your enchanting luck and availability. You're 2.5 billion deep. At 99%, you're in the top 5 of your server. You are not a mage, Breaker is still terrible in PvP, and you're either rich or you're a slave to FOMO, probably both. You're 5.2 billion deep. Breaker collections were added after I had finished recording this video, so here are the updated stats, gold costs, and revised milestone estimates. As you can see, these collections add a massive amount of PvP damage reduction, making already tanky accounts even harder to kill. And with the +8 and +9 Breaker collections still missing, the power creep isn't finished yet. Overall, it's a huge buff for endgame mages, a nice boost for rangers and breakers, and an overall net negative for warriors. Pray for Slam 4. Costume collections are mostly obtained from Platinum, the game's premium currency. They are obtained through direct purchase, gacha boxes, and through events. There are 4 ranks to costume collections: common, uncommon, rare, and heroic. These are the stats obtainable from these collections. As you can see, costume collections exist to do 2 things: inflate HP and heavily reward farming efficiency. Every monster has a drop table with a % chance it'll drop said item per kill. Item drop increases that chance relatively. What this means is, if a monster has a 1% chance to drop an item and you have 10% item drop, the chance now becomes 1.1%. The increase sounds small, but over thousands of kills it adds up fast. Nearing 50% item drop, gold drop from almost all monsters become guaranteed, while also making mini boss farming for rares and scrolls much more efficient. Important note, item and gold drop bonuses do not apply in parties, so if you're farming with others, the fair way is hold the monster, wait for everyone to gather, and then kill. As for all major bosses, item drop bonuses are fully disabled regardless. Using average Big Mama prices, this is about how much in gold it will cost to complete costumes. But there's an issue with this total. Completing costume collections is not possible with gold alone. Excluding what you may find in Black Trader, most +1 HP heroic costumes are locked behind platinum rotations. These packs feature previously released +1 HP costumes that are soulbound, which means they cannot be traded or sold. They made this change due to rampant platinum refunds in the past. At the moment, there are over 300 +1 HP heroics in the game, and at any time, there are usually 4 to 6 packs on sale in the Plat Shop. The rest are paywalled at 2,275 platinum each. 300 costumes will cost you 682,500 platinum total. You would need to purchase the largest platinum pack 52 times in order to obtain the missing costumes. In the US, each pack costs about 108 USD. Using alternate stores such as Japan will cost less, but just be careful, one failed transaction and your account is gone. So yeah, either pay up or say goodbye to your 3k HP warrior fantasy, or just set aside 150 a month for TWOM if you want to catch up. But don't forget to also budget your yearly FOMO fee of about $2,000 to keep up with the rankings, since hundreds of dollars worth of costumes are released every 3 to 4 months. Catching up will cost you thousands, but keeping up is possible since newly released costumes are obtainable through gold. That being said, don't fall for the FOMO and just get the ones you like. You can still reach endgame with just general collections alone. Regarding percent HP heroics, I've averaged them to be around 13 million in my sheet. They are obtained through gambling boxes and events at a rate of 0.3 to 1% each pull. With each pull costing 300 platinum, you could drop hundreds and not obtain a single one. A long time ago, having a full set was an actual flex. The original costumes genuinely look cool, and you could easily pay 100 million for a complete set, or thousands of dollars if you actually gamble for them. Luckily, these older sets return for sale at much higher rates per pull, meaning the prices have gone down considerably. Newer percent HP costumes are released throughout the year and are sold for gold for reasonable prices, at least in Big Mama. Collecting a percent HP heroic will increase your level 50 plus warriors HP by an average of 3, 2 for rangers and breakers, and 1 for mages. This is because your HP percent only increases your character's base HP. Base HP on max level wars should be about 750, 470 for rangers and breakers, and about 300 to 370 for mages, depending on their build. I believe all rares also return on sale for platinum, but their prices may vary. Commons and uncommons are the most obtainable, so go for HP percent and item drops when their prices are reasonable. Event costumes are mainly flat HP boosts that cost pet coins and platinum dice to craft. Old event costumes are released often, so completing them over time is doable. Pet collections were recently added to the game. They provide minor EXP boosts and very minor milestone buffs. Older pets are occasionally released for gold. The overall stats giving is negligible, but due to the relatively low gold cost to acquire the pets, it's a nice non-pay-to-way addition. That being said, given the current rotation speeds, it will take over 3 years to complete. Collections is the most impactful system in the game. It shapes how you train, how you fight, and how far you'll go. But here's the thing. Just because collections is the most impactful system doesn't mean it's the most important. From the gear you've earned, the time you've spent training, the enchants that finally succeeded, and those moments when you and your guild took on those who had it all, that's when you realize the numbers aren't everything, and sometimes a good team is worth more than the sum of their collections.